it's Nita Rose, and in this video I'm going to be talking about the remaining episode of the first season of The Owl House, starting with episode 5. I will also be adding links to the reviews of episode 1, 2, 3, and 4 in the description down below, so I suggest you watch those episodes first before watching this one if you like to watch them in order. So let us get started. Ida, Luz, and King set up their stand with no customers, and Ida sees the situation as a bad omen. There is a special event called the Witch's Cavern. Ida doesn't like these caverns because she thinks the system is broken, and she is also a wanted criminal and can't be seen in public. There are multiple selections and not just the main caverns, there are also small ones as well. But there is one thing I didn't like, in that witches who join a coven can only allow to use the one type of magic in their selected choices, while the rest of the type of magic is sealed off. It's like you're only allowed to play one sport but become banned from the others. Sure, there is one thing you like and want to try it, but after doing it for so long, you lose interest. So what will you do then? If you choose a coven and do that one magic that is the best to your ability, but also want to try other spells and keep that one that you're good at. It's like the witches don't have a lot of free options, which is why Ida never joins a coven, and neither would I if I'm being completely honest. But there is one coven that allows witches to use all type of magic, which is called the Emperor's Coven. But the moment I saw these people in those outfits, I knew there was something shady about this coven. See those scream dark organization. At least that's the vibe I got. This is also discovered that Ida has a sister named Lilith, and the two seem to be on bad terms with each other. The two seem to have a fallout in the past as Lilith is trying so desperately to get Ida to join the Emperor's Coven. And it's discovered at the end of the episode that Lilith was ordered to capture Ida and bring her to the Emperor's Coven, which piques my curiosity as to why they want to capture Ida and why Lilith, her own sister, is trying so hard to get her to join. And that is something I'm willing to learn. Next we have King getting distracted by free stuff and doing his own thing. And then there's Luz running into Amity. Luz makes a deal with Amity after insulting King. She challenged Amity to a witch's duel and she accepted it with a sealing oath. But then Luz realized that she might have made a mistake and went to Ida for help. She's willing to train her for the fight, but then she realized she hasn't taught Luz any other spells. And so Ida helps cheat in the duel but gets caught by Amity. But it also turns out that Lily also cheated without Amity knowing. Lily and Ida started their own duel, and I will say this duel is a lot more fun to watch. Amity and Luz have a heart-to-heart conversation. Now, I really like this conversation because there is a side of Amity that I really started to like. She told Luz how hard she worked to get where she is, and after losing publicly humiliated her and she lost more confidence in herself. And you can see in her expression how embarrassed she felt because of Luz. Luz acknowledges her mistakes and admits that she's not a real witch. But she does show Amity her own ways of casting spells, which allows Amity to unbond the oath and let Luz train to become a witch. This conversation alone shows a connection between the girls, therefore foreshadowing their strong bond later in the series. This is probably the best scene of the episode, along with the introduction of Lilith, because I think she's a great character. This also makes me learn more about Ida's history and what happened between her and Lilith, and why does the Emperor Coven want to capture Ida, and what do they plan to do with her once they have her. Something I'm looking forward to in the later episodes. I'll give this episode a 6 out of 10. I will have to say, this episode seemed almost filler, which isn't that bad. There are some details I can get over, like the fact that Will and Amity used to be childhood friends, but stopped hanging out with each other due to some reason. Ida and King went to the market because Ida was out of elixir for her curse, but got scammed by a scammer. And then there's the power of friendship cliche, which isn't overdue in my opinion. Honestly, that's all I got from this episode, but after rewatching it, I have noticed other details. When Willow, Gus, and Luz wanted to enchant one of Gus's action figures, but instead they accidentally enchanted the house, which caused more trouble for Luz when Ida finds out. But in the end, she didn't seem to mind as she thought it was cool. But of course, Luz and her friends still got punished. but she did notice how powerful the magic was to enchant the entire house. So now thinking back on it, this episode seems less filler and more canon, considering the fact it has details in certain events. There can be speculation that Luz might be part witch due to the fact that she can use magic here without drawing a symbol, but it can be debunked because the magic channeled through her friends and possibly the moon, giving her the ability temporarily. But that is my crazy theory, and I'm sure there's more to explain as the series goes on. 6 out of 10. Okay, I like the creative idea with the library. There are crystal balls that shows videos how to do this and that. I also like the part with the loading screen inside a crystal ball, which I think was a good joke. But what surprised me was seeing Amity having a soft spot for kids. Luz tries to befriend Amity, but it keeps backfiring on her, which turns into a misunderstanding. But they make up in the end as it's discovered that the two of them have something in common. They are both into the same novels and fantasies, which makes them become closer. It's a nice setup for these two characters, going from enemies to friends. I'm honestly seeing these two becoming very close. There's also Ida and King who are having trouble taking care of bat babies, which seems unnecessary. But it could be a foreshadowing of some sort, like the Bat Queen will return. The whole time I was watching this episode, I kept forgetting about that side plot. Another unnecessary thing was Luz trying to act cool for the siblings, which I thought was a little goofy and weird, but it is part of her personality, so I let it slide. A special event called the Wailing Star Effect causes all the books to come to life once you open the books, and they disappear when they're closed. There isn't much about the Wailing Star, as the episode doesn't describe what it is, but it shows what it does, which is something I didn't expect because normally when you see something interesting you want to know about it, but the librarian doesn't say anything about it and just told Luz to go read about it, which doesn't seem to come off as harsh or mean. I mean, Luz is in a library, and I'm sure there's all kinds of facts about it, which would make sense since the meteor shower is what caused all the books to come to light, which is a big deal for this episode, and yet it's brushed off that easily. But instead, we see Luz and the twins just playing around. Although I do like the creative ideas of the books and what comes out of them. Like the part when they're reading a manga and word bubbles pop up. They add ideas into the book by drawing something, which can cause problems if you draw something that's too cruel. For example, one of the twins have Luz draw an evil expression on a character out of a children's book, which is the same book that Amity was reading earlier, which calls to create the monster that both Luz and Amity had to take care of by themselves. I'm also starting to see the chemistry between Amity and Luz, which could lead to a bonding trust between the two. Also, I did not like the twins at all, as they caused problems that Luz and Amity had to fix. Also trying to humiliate their sister just because she tried to tattle on them. I say, hey, stop causing trouble for everyone. You're supposed to be the older one, right? Going as far as to stealing her diary and willing to publish it on the media. That's just childish. I always find it immature that the younger sibling is more mature than the older ones. But maybe I'm reading too much into this. I'm sure they care about their little sister and don't mean any harm. The episode had the ideas that seem creative and fun to look at, and it dives deeper into the character's perspective. Like when Luz read Amity's diary, it shares her true thoughts about her feelings. The side plot of Ida taking care of baby bats was fun too, and seeing two characters coming together within the first step into developing a good relationship. 9 out of 10. Okay, I've seen these episodes before in other shows with the body swapping technique. Ida, Luz, and King wanted to test their liabilities to see who has the tougher life. But as they spend time in each other's bodies, they notice that their lives aren't as difficult as it seems to be. Luz discovered that using magic is a lot harder than it seems. King thinks that being a teenager is all fun and games, which yeah, it can be, but sometimes it can go too far when other teens are involved. Ida wanted to lay back and being cute, and a little creature can easily do that for her. But But then there are weird creeps like these women that look innocent by appearance but has a dark secret to them. And so yeah, I have to say this is a fun episode to watch, and there is one more thing that I did discover. It turns out that Ida did once want to join the Emperor's cabin, but instead she became cursed and therefore became an outcast. Luz managed to learn about this after getting captured by Lilith, not knowing it's Luz inside Ida's body. This information got me interested to see the truth about what happened, and I am excited to watch more. 8 out of 10, good lessons for good info. Okay, I think this one is more of a Gus episode, where it shows us more about his characteristics and interest in the human relics. He created a club that's all about the human relic. The club is short of 3 members, with the newest member being a bully that wants to take over, by winning over the other 2 members with fakes. But Gus learns quickly that they are fakes and gets real proof by bringing Luz along, even though she was banned from the school. I think Gus might be unloyal to Luz considering the fact that he lied about her banishment being lifted and tricked her into showing off to the bully to impress his members in his club. I didn't really care for Gus because he was being kind of a jerk in this episode, but he does apologize to Luz in the end and takes responsibility for his actions with the principal, kicking him out of his own club. Looks like the bully wins in the end after all, which is fresh and new when you think about it. There's also the scene of Ida going through the trouble to enroll Luz into the school. There's also the bully that is sure to be a recurring character, and Luz gets enrolled into the academy. I give this episode a 5 out of 10. Now this episode has an interesting contact with the making of Ida's staff Albert, known as the Palisman, that are created by witches to serve to be their staff and share a special bond. Luz wanted to borrow Albert without Ida's permission, and used him as transportation after they missed the ride back to the academy because Luz had to take her time changing clothes. But due to her carelessness, Albert got broken and retreated into the forest where he's protected by the Bat Queen. Luz must go through many trials to get Albert back. There's also an interesting fact about the Bat Queen being a Palisman herself, which is why she's protected over Albert after Luz accidentally broke him, along with the rest of the other Palismen that were left behind by their previous owners. She protects those that are broken, the same as her. That is actually very sad. It's actually very sad seeing all these Palismen feeling broken and abandoned. Like, the witches created these things to serve them, but they can't fix them? Now that's the sad part. Luz felt bad for them, and Albert decided to trust her again. There is also the foreshadowing subplot of Ida's curse getting stronger. King saw the transformation of Beast Ida and noticed that she can obey orders. King took advantage of her strength and used her to take over a kid's playground. Yeah, King's Dominic are both cute and weird. Ida gets captured by animal control, but King managed to snap her out of it and apologize to her for what he has done. This is a good episode that has a good lore on Palisman and Ida's curse. But wait, I just brainstormed a theory. The Bat Queen claims that she was once a Palisman of a giant. But what if that giant was the Titan? I know that seems a bit far-fetched at this point because there's no evidence. But if the writers are showing this character more than once in the show, then she must have some values that's connected to the story. I know there's been a whole story about the Titan from the Emperor and we really don't know much about it. Having the Bat Queen as a Palisman could entertain more details about this mysterious creature that everyone was talking about and worshipping throughout the series. And it surprised me that the Bat Queen was a Palisman, and it was a good twist to the plot of the episode. So I'll give this episode a 7 out of 10. Love the lore of the Palisman. Going from visiting a fair to a writing companion to fame into your head to betrayal of friendship and a psychotic maniac who collects writers for figurines. Sorry, but this is the best way I can describe this guy's insanity. So in this episode, there are 3 different categories. Luz was the one who entered the writing competition as her dream was to be a writer, and King decided to enter the competition after witnessing a famous author sign autographs as he sees that as an authority figure. Ida Ida's sister is back and she seemed to be in search of a rare flower that causes eternal youth. Ida finds out about this and goes after the same flower, only to find out it was all a scam. But they were not fazed by it as they had their doubts. It is nice to see these two work together, even if it was for a short time. And the scammer isn't all that threatening and the two of them easily took him down. You know, I'm starting to see these side plots completely pointless, but whatever. There is the part where King becomes a total jerk as his fame goes to his head, and the guy he signed a contract with turns out to be a crazy psychopath that manipulates naive writers and becoming famous for his own twisted salvation. But Luz came up with a plan to get themselves out of there, and this little creature came in with her own story, and the lizard decided to read and was amazed, just another victim to his twisted mentality. But hey, at least Luz and King aren't trapped anymore, and there's a nice moment between Lily and Ida as Lily wants to help Ida with their curse, but Ida doesn't trust the Emperor. 6 out of 10. Luz gets her first actual training with Ida and learned to create another spell for her to get into the same class as Amity. She must learn 2 spells, otherwise she gets put into the baby class. Seriously, that's kinda harsh. Plus, this gives info on how the school functions. Luz managed to learn 1 spell on her own before with the help of Ida, so Ida decided to take Luz to an area where she can develop magic. Ida's method of teaching is a bit strange, but it does seem to work out. But Luz doesn't believe her method is working out for her, so she tried a different approach on her own by stealing Amity's wand and use it behind Ida's back only to get caught by her. Luz wanted to prove that she can probably use the wand only to have it backfire on her because it was low on battery. Or magic, so to speak. The fire that Luz cast attacked the snow beast, and Amity and her sibling noticed what's happening and they came to help out. Amity was about to finish off the beast with the wand, only to learn that Luz used it all up. The beast took Ida and the twins back to its cave, leaving Amity to go after the beast and leaving Luz behind to protect her. Funny, I thought she would lash out at Luz for what she did. I mean, she still got angry at Luz for her siblings' kidnapping, which she does have the right to do so because it is Luz's fault, and Amity's behavior is justifiable. But she also given off signs of protection for Luz as she created a barrier around her. Luz feels guilty for what she has done and believes she can't do more than a light spell. But she saw a pattern in the sky and learned a new spell from the pattern off a snowflake. This new spell got her out of the barrier and she made her way to the cave as her and Amity came up with a plan to save Ida and the twins. Luz distracted the beast while Amity sets Ida and the twins free. Luz managed to lure the beast into a trap and set it flying in with her new ice spell, and then Ida used the sleep spell. Amity seems happy that Luz learned her second spell and is glad the two get to join the same class and possibly a secret book club. Well, not really a secret if the twins know about it. But regardless, this is a pretty interesting episode. There is a good self-taught about how to be one with nature, and that Amity starts to trust Luz even more considering the fact that her siblings got kidnapped by the beast because of her. But Amity is no longer angry with her after she helped her save her siblings. These two have a pretty good friendship going on. Also, I forgot to mention that there is a subplot with King, but to be honest, I don't care. Don't get me wrong, I don't hate King, but whatever he does never interests me. Yet. This episode gets a 7 out of 10. Luz takes the entrance exam and she passes, even though she embarrassed herself. She enters her first day of school and tries to find the right type of magic for herself. She plans on doing multiple tasks but soon learns that she can only choose one. The principal does explain the rules about a good witch who needs to focus pocus, which is a good advice for students and beginners, but not for full skilled witches with years of experience, which makes Ida unique. Luz is not sure which one to choose, so the principal randomly chose for her. Okay, so the principal is not very reliable. Instead of being chosen randomly for her, he could have just let Luz try different magic types first before she decides. I get that he goes by the rules, but sometimes you must bend the rules for the sake of the students. So Luz tries the potion class and that didn't go well for her as she got distracted and already messed up. She finds a crystal ball and uses it and gets caught by the principal and gets sent to detention. Okay, I don't think I should entirely blame Luz for her troubles and led into detention. First off, Luz didn't do anything wrong but pick up a crystal ball to see if she's on the right path. But the principal doesn't see it that way and immediately sends her into detention without her explanation. Luz wanted to make a good impression attention, but her curiosity got the best of her. But I honestly think that the principal was being unfair with her. When Luz couldn't decide which cabin she wanted to join, he randomly chose for her. Luz was put in a situation where she can't comprehend, and was put in detention after one bad decision. Instead of putting her in detention right away, he could have at least asked Luz what she was doing with the crystal and just gave her a warning for next time. But since the principal is a strict man and obliged by the rules, he wouldn't listen to her. You can easily see how corrupt the system is. But she's not the only troublemaker in school. Luz's friend Willow and Gus find out that she's in detention and wants to help her break out. But Luz befriends others in detention, and one of them showed her a secret passage with many doors. The girl known as Viney explains to Luz that they're not allowed to study magic while in detention. So Viney and the others learn their own way with the secret doors. They are the students trying mixed magic. So they tried mixing different magic together and didn't turn out too good, so yeah, I can see them landing in detention. But it doesn't seem to be too big of an issue since Viney and the others seem to learn a lot more by secretly watching others. Hey, I'll send myself in detention if I get to learn from visual experience. Oh yeah, there's also a subplot where King becomes a substitute teacher. It's cute, but I don't see the point. And so Luz became friendly with the people in detention until Willow and Gus came to get her. Viney heard from them about Luz being better than them, and Viney asked her to leave, which made Luz unhappy. The inspector has arrived and was greeted by the principal, but the inspector turned out to be an imposter and a creature who absorbed magic and drained the life force of witches. Willow and Gus run into the creature, but both Willow and Gus got their magic drained. Luz used her paper magic to attack, and it seemed to affect the creature, and takes the opportunity to grab Willow and Gus and run away. She went to the detention students and asked for help as she apologized to them, and then she shows them the creature. Viney heard about this creature that should be extinct, and Luz wants to help the other students even if she gets kicked out. Luz and the others used their mixed magic to take out the creature, and the principal witnessed everything. He was mad at first, but Luz talked him down to change his mind about the mixed magic. Each one get their different mixed magic of their choosing, and Luz gets to try each one of them. She also learned that Ida was the one that created the passageway with all the doors. Then let's not forget the subplot of King pretending to be a teacher, and he gets kicked out. I'll give this episode a 8 out of 10. So we got ourselves a carnival episode. Alright, let's talk. So after Hootie brings in the mail, Ida finds the flyer for the carnival and they all decide to go. They made their way there and they meet Tibble. And yes, it is the same guy who tried to scam Ida before, and she ended up destroying his stand. Ida doesn't buy his act as she knows he's a scammer like herself. And so Ida does her thing while Luz and King spends time together. Luz and King see friendship bracelets and willing to play the games to win them. Gus and Willow are at the carnival as well as King gets jealous of Luz's friends, which is understandable since Luz doesn't realize that she's completely ignoring him. She spends more time with Willow and Gus even though she promised King that she would hang out with him. So I will say that Luz is being selfish, but so is King. They're both being selfish in their own ways, but they do make up in the end. King's reason for acting that way is because he knows Luz is not going to stay there forever. It's the same problem with Luz. She wants to spend as much time with her friends in that world before she leaves to the human world. So there is a parallel between the two that shows each other's emotions. King becomes down in the dumps after feeling left out and gets tricked by Tibble with a potion bottle. King runs into Luz and her friends and he accidentally dropped the bottle onto Gus and Willow and makes them disappear. King was about to tell Luz the truth, but she reminds him of the friendship bracelet and decides not to tell her yet. Gus and Willow are mini-sized due to the potion. Ida gets caught by the fun police for having a stand and selling products without a license. Gus and Willow are trying to get Luz's attention while she's hanging out with King. Willow finds a clever way to get Luz's attention and lets her into the House of Mirrors. King wins the bracelet and finds Luz, and she shows him Gus and Willow mini-size. King tries to explain himself and shows Luz the purple bottle. Luz tries to take the bottle from King, but it splashed open and they both shrunk down. Tibble came along and brought the four of them into his little pet cage as part of his show and revenge. Ida has to work in the carnival after getting caught, and now she's selling food to guests. The four are trying to escape the cage, and King realizes his mistake and finds a way to get them out. He apologizes to Luz and her friends for what he has done and finds a way to trick Tibble into tapping his cheek, which caused the spell to break. King, Gus, Will, and Luz are back to normal size, and Tibble got his punishment. Luz gives King the broken pieces of bracelet that King used on Tibble. King gives a piece to Gus and Will as their newfound friendship and forgiveness from Luz. This isn't a bad episode, as I've seen cliches in the same writing before, but I do like the fact that Luz didn't stay mad at King for too long and King learned his lesson. I'll give this episode a 7 out of 10. Amini's friend Basha is the typical bully of the show. Yeah, it went from Amini to Basha. Willow and Luz heard their conversation as they walked by, and one of the girls mentioned that Amini was once friends with Willow. Amini denies the fact that they were friends, as state as members of her family or only select few are allowed to be your friends. This of course upsets Willow, but Luz is there to comfort her. There is a class where your memories are turned into photos. Okay, I will admit, that's very creative. The teacher explained that some photos have strong emotional connections, and if you damage the prints on the photos, it will damage the memories. Luz sees Willow's memories with the photos and sees one with her and Amini as children. Luz wants Willow and Amini to be friends again, but Willow doesn't want that. Amini sees the photo of her and Willow and destroys it, but little does she know that this could damage Willow's memories, as the teacher stated. Amini noticed what she did wrong and tries to blow out the fire, only that caused it to spread. Willow started to act strange due to the cause of the burning photos taking effect. Luz realized what was happening and ran into the photo class to see Amini try to save Willow's memory from burning away. Luz and Amini came to Ida for help, and she suggests they enter Willow's mind to fix the damage. Amini and Luz enter Willow's mind as Amini feels guilty for what she's done. They're inside a forest filled with trees with picture frames. They enter into one of the frames and Amini fixed the memories inside. Luz noticed that one of the photos that got burned, and Amini didn't want Luz to enter that one, so she finds another one with young Willow, but then something follows them. Amini and Luz kept fixing all the memories, and Amini feels guilty for almost destroying all those good memories. But there is the one memory that Amini was acting suspicious about. But the forest and frames get caught on fire by the fire creature that is destroying the memories they fixed. Luz tries to contact Ida, but she got distracted as her and King are trying to impress Gus. Oh yeah, the subplot in this one is that Gus was trying to get someone important to interview for a project. King and Ida are competing against each other for the attention. Yet another pointless subplot, but at least this one's not boring. Luz discovered that the fire creature is after Amini. The fire creature is the inner Willow who became corrupted due to Amini's actions. The inner Willow brought Amini and Luz into the photo that Amini wanted to avoid. It showed how Amini pushed Willow away because she was weak. But Amini shows the inner Willow the truth, and that her parents forced her to stop being friends with Willow. Amini's parents threatened to kick Willow out of school if she stayed friends with her. Amini shares her true feelings with Willow, and the inner Willow allow Amini and Luz to finish their job of fixing Willow's memories. King and Ida did all they can to impress Gus, but in the end, he chose Hootie. Gus finds the Owl House more interesting than Ida and King. And you know what? The show is called the Owl House, and we know little about him. Willow wakes up and gets her memories back, and Amini feels happy that her former best friend is willing to give her another chance. This episode is fun to watch and shows me more about one of my favorite characters, Amini, and shows her reason for being cold towards the people that were once close to her. I also like seeing Luz and Amini work together as a nice experience. Amini did not like Luz when they first met, but as time went by and more interaction with Luz, it made her feel happy. She's also making amends with Willow, and the two have a good start in a new friendship. So this one gets a 9 out of 10. So we got a prom episode this time, but it turns out that it's not an ordinary prom. Actually, it's not called prom, it's called Grom. Luz noticed something different that's happening as she learned that the school is having a prom night called the Enchanting Grom Night. Oh, I'm sorry, it's called the Enchanting Grom Fright. There we see Amini bump into Luz and get blushy, and she also grabs the note that Luz picked up for her and told her that it was private. Oh, I know what this episode's about. The principal announced Amity as Grom Queen, but Amity seems to be upset and runs away. It's nice to see Amity's vulnerability, as she is no longer the typical bully, but a shy girl who feels awkward around the person she cares about. She even started to like Luz more. Later on, Amity told Luz about the story about a monster living under the school known as Grom, and every year the Grom tries to break out and a student must stop it. That student is selected as Grom King or Queen, as that person is the one to stop Grom. Amity also explains that Grom can read people's minds and investigate their worst fears, and her fears is too embarrassing, which is why she's bummed out of being Grom Queen. Luz advised Amity to talk to the principal about getting out of being Grom Queen, and Amity decided to take her advice. And later, Luz learned that Ida is going to Grom as a chaperone. Luz is concerned about Amity and thinking about taking her place as Grom Queen, but Ida told Luz that she can't face Grom, which caused Luz to get upset and storm off. She runs into the woods and ends up finding Amity. Luz wants to help her out by taking her place. Back at the Owl House, Luz gets another text from her mother and she starts to feel guilty. Amity comes to train Luz to face her fears to defeat Grom, and so her and her twin siblings came to help. Ida finds out about what Luz is doing and is not happy about it. But Ida knows there's no stopping Luz once she's got her mind set on something. Amity thinks Luz is not ready, but with the short time they have, this is all she can do now is hope for the best. Gus is the host of prom, and King noticed how well he pleased the crowd. Amity looks at her note and is hinting that she has a crush on someone. Yeah, it was hinted very early on in the episode, and later you can see her expression when she's around Luz. It shows that Luz is the person that Amity is crushing on, and in the end, it turns out to be true. But Amity doesn't know how to express her feelings because the way she was. This is a good development within a character that was meant to be dislikable in the beginning. Luz comes dressed up and Amity thanks her for taking her place. Gus announced Luz as Grom Queen and Amity is worrisome. Luz faces Grom and Gus gives King the spotlight, but he gets nervous and loses the crowd, gets booed at and runs away. Aw, poor King. Luz is fighting off all her fears, but her biggest one is the fear of her mother learning that Luz has been lying to her. Yeah, that's gotta be like one of the biggest and scariest things to face. The biggest fear in a teenage life is facing your parents, and that is the most relatable thing I ever seen in a kid's show. There's also another relatable moment where Gus and King are talking about King exposed his fears to Gus about stage fright. Gus wants King to be strong and face his fears just like Luz. But it doesn't help after seeing Luz run away from Grom as the monster chased her. I always did like messages in kids shows because it actually teaches those about harsh reality, whether it's real or magical. King faced his fears and managed to wow the crowd and have them follow after Grom and Luz. Luz is getting chased to the edge as Ida and Amity come to her rescue. Amity's fears was exposed. Her greatest fear was getting rejected by her crush as the monster took her love letter and tore it up. Luz read one part that ripped up and decided to be her date to cheer her up. The two danced nicely together and both took down Grom, transforming him into a cherry blossom tree. They are both crowned Grom Queen and they have a small celebration. Luz realized that she couldn't face her mother, and in the end she told her mother about her day. But she got a text about receiving her letters, but Luz didn't think much of it and thought it was her mom's way of texting. I will say this episode is fun to watch. There's always gonna be episodes like this all the time, but added a little twist to it, which makes the show a little more exciting to watch. I'll give this one an 8 out of 10. Loved Amity in this episode. This episode starts off with Basha as the captain of her team called the Banshees. She entered the school waiting to be praised by her fans, only to see that nobody's around. She witnessed Willow showing off her plant skills and getting the attention. Basha wasn't bothered by this and made fun of Willow until Amity stood up for her, which made Basha angry. Luz gets excited about her first sport event at school, and Willow seemed to gain popularity and she feels more confidence in herself, but Basha still makes fun of her and she thinks Amity is gone soft. Basha gets away with bullying just because she's the captain of the team. Even the teacher allows her to throw things at him. Oh, you gotta be kidding me. Basha continues picking on Willow, and she even picked on Gus and Luz. Willow feels sorry for putting him through that just because she gained a little popularity. Luz talks to Amity about Basha, but even she said that Basha is not easy to reason with. Willow still gets picked on, and Luz just had enough of Basha's bullying and decided to challenge her. Okay, this is where Luz becomes unbearable in the situation. You see, Luz didn't challenge herself as a challenger, she made Willow the challenger, and she did it without Willow's consent. Luz said that Willow will challenge Basha to her own game, and everyone, including Willow, was shocked of this, of course. Much as I do admire Luz, she does do things without thinking. But I do understand her concern. There is a school bully going around picking on her best friend, and nobody in the school, not even the principal, are doing anything about it, and it's very bothersome. This girl can get away with murder if she can. That's even more troublesome and dangerous. I know the principal said that as a joke, but I have my doubts. So anyway, we see Iida talk about her days as a champ and a cheater with her cheat box, and Hooty finds Lilith in the forest and brought her into the house. Lilith tries to get Iida to join the Emperor's cabin, but she noticed that Iida was looking at an old photo and Lilith was the better player. Iida challenged Lily to a game, and if she loses, she will go with Lily to the Emperor's cabin. Back with Luz, Basha accepts the challenge and makes a deal. Luz, Gus, and Will start training, but Luz takes things a little too serious, and Willow calls her out for it. Luz realized that she was pushing them too hard, and Amity comes over and talks to her, and she told Luz about her being a team captain, but she quit because she did something that hurt her teammate. After hearing Amity's story, Luz decided to forfeit and allow herself to be the target of Basha's bullying. I'm glad Luz realized her wrongdoings and decided to face a punishment and consequences of her own. But she doesn't deserve to get killed. She realized that she pushed Willow and Gus too hard so that Basha would stop picking on Willow. I know I said Luz can be unbearable, but she isn't like that all the time. She's also a good person and a good friend. Amity gets Willow and Gus to help Luz. Iida and Lily have their own little game, and the two of them are at a tie. And so Iida puts out her cheat box only to see that it's cleaned out by Luz. Iida wins the game without any cheats, but heard Lily about not going back empty-handed, and so Iida gave Lily one of her rings as something to give to the Emperor. Luz still gets bullied by Basha until Willow steps in, and the game is on. Willow wants to play her way with Luz and Amity on her team, and with Gus cheering them on. The game became a tie, and Willow decided to do something that Luz would do. Willow gets the last score and wins the game, only to find out that Basha won by catching a golden bug. Oh, I see, it's a reference from the Harry Potter movie. I see what you did there, writers. But Luz points out that catching a bug should be against the efforts of winning the game. Well, she's not exactly wrong about that, but then again, it could be entertaining if some effort was put into catching that bug. That's what Harry did in the movies. You could see him trying to catch that bug, and that thing was flying around everywhere. He even tried to catch that damn thing during the thunderstorm, but Basha caught that thing off screen, so it does feel like a cheat. Not to mention, nobody said anything about the bug and the rules of it. In the Harry Potter movies, there was at least a tutorial on how the game works. But I get it, the writers didn't want to rip off that movie and its creativity. But still, if this was reality, all players should have been aware of catching that bug. If Luz and the others knew about it, it would have been more of a fair game. Actually, Willow seems to know due to her reaction after seeing the bug in Basha's hand, but I guess she forgot about it? Basha thinks she's won, but her other teammates seem to be amazed by Willow's skills and have fun playing against them. They asked Willow to join their team, but she kindly refused. Amity got hurt with the broken leg and the others ran towards her. And I like Amity's expression when Luz picked her up. That was cute. Luz, Gus, and Willow have a little montage and they all gathered in the Owl House, and Amity has the start of her redemption. I'll give this one a 6 out of 10. Here we have Lily at the Emperor's cabin talking to one of the members and remembering the promise to bring her sister back and willing to capture her for good. Lily and her men are trying to sneak into the Owl House, but Hooty takes them down. Iida sees what's happening and is proud of Hooty. Luz hears a story from Iida about why the Emperor wants to capture her. The Emperor wants to take control of all magical beings, and Iida, being the escape artist that she is, always managed to get away. But her curse is the only thing slowing her down. The curse started take effect again and she transformed. Ida had the same vision as before and she wants to know who cursed her. Luz turned her back with the elixir, but she had to use more than one bottle as the curse was getting stronger. Luz became worried and wants to do something about it, but Ida told her not to worry. Luz's school is having a field trip to the Emperor's castle, but Luz doesn't want to go because how they treat Ida. But her friends want her to go after they showed her all the magical items. Luz caught the eye of a hat that can cure curses and went on the school trip and rolled up a plan to try and steal the hat that could help Ida. The students get the tour guide of the castle and learn some history while Luz was looking around for something to help her out. She finds the hat that she's looking for and wants to take it, but gets pulled by Gus. Lilith has returned and is on her way to see the Emperor, and Luz had decided to follow her and look through a keyhole to see a giant pumping heart above the Emperor's throne. The Emperor has a condition where he must take a strange green liquid. Luz saw that and was grossed out and ran away. The Emperor promised Lily that he will break the curse on Ida once she's captured, but if Lily fails, she'll be banned. Willow and Gus find out about Luz's plan and decide to help her. They snuck into the area where the hat is located but got trapped, and Willow used one of the items and broke a hole in the door but then got caught by Lily. Lily used Luz as bait to bring Ida to the castle, which seemed to have worked. Ida came and attacked Lily. The two get into a duel and Lilith keeps using Luz to her advantage, but she knows that Ida was slowing down due to the curse. Ida managed to get Luz out of the fight and Luz managed to free herself from the bubble. The fight goes on and Lilith said something that surprised Ida. It turns out that Lilith was the one who cursed her. This angered Ida and used up all her magic to save Luz. This caused the curse to completely take over Ida, turn her into the Owl Beast. Ida is now caught, leaving Luz behind with the guilt. She walked back to the Owl House as Hooty and King got the sad news. 5 out of 10. Could have been better. Now it's on to the final episode of Season 1. King reads from the story about the Boiling Isles and the Empire and his rules of mixed magic and that only he has the right to those magics. Jeez, hypocrisy much? Luz and King want to get Ida back no matter what it takes. The Emperor used his magic to fix Ida's mind, but not her body, as he wants to know about the portal that Luz came through. Lily learns the harsh truth, and that the Emperor was never planning on healing Ida. He even asked Lily to destroy her staff. News has spread about Ida's capture and will be petrified and turn to stone. Luz and King get themselves captured and be taken to the Conservatorium. I hope I said that right. Anyway, Willow and Gus are at the spot where Ida will be petrified as support for Luz. Lily noticed Luz's friends are here and learned that Luz might be here too and is willing to capture her. Luz finds Ida and tries to free her, but her magic is no good. Ida gave Luz the key to the portal door to the human realm. Luz hugged Ida before she goes, but then Lily entered. Luz and Lily get into a fight and they both went through the portal to the human world, and King followed. Luz can't use magic in the human world and Lily pinned her down trying to talk to her. Lily admits her wrongdoings and that she's the one who deserved to be petrified. She told Luz the story about their past together and how things end up the way they are. Lily and Ida had to duel for the only spot left in the Emperor's cabin. Lily was the one who wanted to be the Emperor's cabin the most, so she had to beat Ida in a duel. So she finds a curse that will weaken Ida's power for one day, or so she thought. Now during the duel, Ida refused to fight Lily and allows her to enter the cavern. That is when Lily realized her mistake. Lily told Luz the Emperor lied to her and willing to help her save Ida and gave Luz Ida's staff. Lily, Luz, and King went underground to a platform will take them to Ida, but they get caught by the Emperor and wants to talk to Luz, while Lily and King get thrown into the cage with Ida. Lily admits her wrongdoings as King explained to Ida that Lily betrayed the Emperor. Willow and Gus got the crowd on their side and cheered to release Ida. Luz tries to fight the Emperor off, but she's no match. The Emperor wants the key to the portal to the human realm, and in order to save Ida, Luz gave the portal case to the Emperor, but she ends up destroying the portal case, leaving herself trapped in the magical realm. Luz stopped the petrification and freed Ida, Lily, and King, and all three of them got away. The Emperor told the citizens that the Titans allow Ida to live, but her curse will take away her magic. Ida, Luz, King, and Lily made it to the Owl House, and Lily cast a spell to take half the curse out of Ida and stored it in her own body. They both now share the curse and weaken their magic, but Luz is willing to teach them magic her own way. Luz made a recording of herself about her adventure in the magic realm to her mother and will find another way to get back to the human realm. Now we have a cliffhanger with the Emperor using engineering to try and fix the portal. Now I would like to say this is not a bad finale, but the cliffhanger was enough for me to be interested in the next season. So this season finale, I will give it a 8 out of 10. So here are my final thoughts on the season. First off, I love the world building of the magical realm and the lore of the talisman. Amity crushing on Luz was a bit surprising to me at first, but after thinking back on it, she might develop some feelings early on than expected. I'll say that the Owl House is a lot of fun to watch. The characters are memorable and there are some nice moments with each episode. But I do have a problem with the main character Luz as she gets herself into trouble in every episode. But she does learn her lesson from her mistakes and willing to help her friends and even befriend one of her bullies. But my problem with Luz is the constant recycle of her actions. She gets in trouble, Ida and her friends must come and help her out. She learns her lesson, apologizes, and goes and rinse and repeat. It's like this with her in almost every episode, and it's tiring. And because of that, Luz is my least favorite character. But luckily, she won't be like that in season 2. Now, Amity is by far my favorite character because of her character arc and growth. And I do like it when kids shows give off a message about harsh reality, whether it's real or magical. Another character I do like is Lilith. Not as an antagonist, but as someone who is willing to help her sister any way possible, and can fix her own mistakes. And the finale pulled her redemption very well, even if it was a short amount of time. Now, another problem I have with the show itself are the subplots that can be forgettable, but not all of them are completely pointless. There's one where Ida's curse shows how worse it's getting even with the elixir, and another one is where Luz learns a little bit about Ida from Lily, and then there's the intro of the Bat Queen. But the other subplots are there for convenient reasons with King, who is more of a subplot mascot character. Everyone has one, but I think the title belongs to Hooty in my opinion, who we know little about even though he is the Owl House. It's ironic that the character named after the show is not the main character of the show, but the side character of the show. But this show got like 2 more seasons, so we might know a little bit more about him. And speaking of the show, the Owl House also gives off some good messages about facing your fears and must overcome them, and admitting your wrongdoings and learn to be better. But there are unfair law enforcements and rules. For example, why can't students learn about mixed magic? Why is mixed magic forbidden? Because the Emperor said so? And what about petrification? Now, I get that Ida is a criminal who's broke a lot of laws, like using forbidden magic and selling illegal items from another world. Ida does deserve punishment such as jail time or community service, not petrification. That type of punishment should be used for the worst type of criminals, not for scammers and con artists. There's also a lot of Harry Potter reference throughout the show. I guess the writer was a fan. And there's also a cliffhanger that I noticed after rewatching and reviewing most of the episodes, and that there are letters that Luz's mother has received, which does pique my curiosity and speculation. But it's still a fictional show and it's fun to watch as kids and adults, and yet it does have some ideas and creativity for the imagination, and I'm looking forward to reviewing season 2. Thanks for watching, and you can share your thoughts on this season, and if you like, you can subscribe to this channel, and I'll see you all next time.